My name is Leah Kim. I'm 31. 5 years ago, I walked away from Seattle, and I never looked back. Back then, I was a back-end developer for a cybersecurity firm with high-stakes clients, major banks, government agencies, the kind of contracts that never tolerated mistakes. I wasn't just good at what I did, I was indispensable. I solved problems other teams couldn't even define. But beyond the server rooms and encrypted networks, I was invisible, at least to my family. We hadn't spoken since 2016. So when my phone buzzed on a quiet Wednesday night in October 2023, I nearly dropped it. The name on the screen, Rachel, my cousin, the only one who still had my number. "Leah," she said, voice low, "your parents are trying to reach you. They want you home for Christmas." I sat down slowly on the edge of my narrow bed in my Brooklyn apartment. "Now?" I asked. "After everything?" "They've been asking around," she said. "They sound serious." I ended the call and stared at the wall. I hadn't thought about my family in months, maybe years, but the memories came rushing in like floodwater. Always the outsider, never the chosen one. I was 13 again, curled up in Dr. Patel's office, knees pulled to my chest as he told my parents, "Leah's not withdrawn because she's isolating, she's withdrawn because she's being ignored." My mother had scoffed. "We love both our kids equally, but we all knew better." My brother Dylan was the golden child, star quarterback, class president, effortless charmer. He got a brand new car on his 16th birthday. I got a second-hand sweater that still smelled like someone else's life. Even at Christmas, his presence gleamed under the tree. Mine felt like afterthoughts. And now, after years of silence, they wanted me back, but they had no idea who I'd become. Family gatherings had always been the same. Dylan holding court, loud, confident, magnetic, while I faded into the furniture. That's when I found code. It started with a wrinkled flyer pinned to the high school bulletin board, "Intro to Computer Science Club, Room 27, Thursdays." I showed up once, then I never missed another meeting. For the first time, something made sense. Not people, but patterns, syntax, logic. That classroom became my sanctuary. We rebuilt busted PCs from junk, debated compilers over vending machine snacks, and stayed late debugging each other's projects. I even built my first game on a borrowed laptop. Mr. Alvarez, our advisor, pulled me aside one afternoon. "You've got something rare, Leah," he said. "Don't let small minds shrink it." By 17, I had a plan. I applied to colleges far from Seattle, far from them. Dylan was already at Stanford, on my parents' dime, of course. Then came that Thanksgiving. My dad lifted his glass to Dylan, making us proud at Stanford. The room erupted in applause. My mom chimed in. "And Leah, well, we're hoping she finds something stable soon." My uncle added, "We've got openings at the diner." Laughter followed. Even my parents joined in. I didn't. What no one knew was that I'd already secured a full scholarship to a top tech program in New York, tuition, housing, even a stipend. I packed up quietly and never looked back. In Manhattan, I waitressed between classes, graduated top of my cohort, and landed a dream role at a cybersecurity firm before the ink had dried on my diploma. 4 years later, I led a major integration for a global bank. The bonus? Big enough to buy property, so I did. A brownstone condo in Fort Greene, 2 bedrooms, brick walls, sleek lines, steps from the park. At 31, I became a homeowner. 2 weeks before Christmas, I threw a housewarming. Just a few close friends, the ones who'd seen me cry over broken code and still show up for work the next morning. We sat cross-legged on floor cushions with Thai food and cheap wine, surrounded by moving boxes and warmth. Lisa raised her glass to Leah, the quiet one who turned silence into strength. We clinked glasses. I smiled, but in the back of my mind, I couldn't stop thinking. In a week, I'd be going home. But this time, not as the forgotten daughter. This time, I was someone who knew her worth. A week before Christmas, I wrapped simple gifts, took time off, and drove 6 hours back to the house I'd spent my childhood trying to escape. The siding was peeling, the hedges overgrown, the porch light flickered like it was remembering me, too. I stood at the door, hands shaking, and rang the bell. Footsteps, then the door cracked open. "Leah," my mother said, blinking, "it's really you." She gave me a quick, uncertain hug. "You look different." Inside, the air smelled the same, wood polish, dust, and that ever-present bowl of potpourri that never quite covered the truth. The living room was packed. Conversation halted. A voice from across the room muttered, "Well, look who finally decided to show up. Is she wearing sweats?" Someone whispered. I glanced down. Tailored black slacks. Designer wool coat, quiet luxury. The kind that only whispers to those who know what to listen for. But to this crowd, it may as well have been a hoodie. Then Dylan sauntered out of the kitchen, grinning like he owned the place. "Everyone, this is Mia, my wife," he announced, hand on her belly. "Future niece or nephew incoming." "Congratulations," I said. He grinned wider. "Still tucked away coding in a basement somewhere?" Laughter rolled through the room. I felt my jaw tense. "I work in tech," I replied evenly. If you've ever walked into a room full of people who once belittled you, and now fear they underestimated you, hit subscribe, because this is where everything changes. Tech? Dylan raised a brow. Like help desk stuff? Fixing Wi-Fi and printers? He looked at Mia. Leah was always the weird one, probably still is. I smiled. Just barely. Something like that. Mom clapped. "Dinner soon. Leah, put your things down. Dylan's using your old room as his office now, so the couch is yours." Of course he was. And of course I would be. The night trickled by in a slow drip of passive jabs and thinly veiled pity. Aunt Nora pinned me near the dusty punch bowl. "Dylan's starting a business. He's such a visionary. And you're still in computers?" "I write software," I said. She wrinkled her nose. "Well, someone has to do the boring work." Uncle Mike leaned in during dinner prep. "We've still got that dishwasher spot at the diner. Not glamorous, but it's honest work." "Thanks," I said politely. "I'm good." They seated me at the far end of the dinner table, next to the kitchen door. Dylan, of course, took center stage. "This is going to shake up the whole industry," he boomed. "We just need the initial capital to launch." "How much?" Dad asked. 200 grand, Dylan said, like it was pocket change. I nearly choked on my water. Every red flag startup pitch I'd ever heard flashed through my head like error messages. "We'll figure something out," Mom said, patting his hand. "Family supports each other." After dinner, she handed me a blanket. "You'll be comfy on the couch," she said with a too bright smile. Christmas morning. Dylan and Mia bounded down the stairs like kids. The floor around the tree was blanketed in gifts, mostly for them. They tore into my presents, carefully chosen, elegantly wrapped. "Leah, these are gorgeous," Mom said, holding up her new leather bag. Then it was my turn. "Oh no," Mom gasped, too loudly. "Leah, we completely forgot." Dylan burst out laughing. "Just like when we were kids. Don't cry this time, okay? You're an adult now." Something shifted. Not sadness, not rage, just a cold, steady clarity. "I'm not crying," I said, reaching into my purse. "Actually, I got myself a pretty great gift this year." I pulled out my keychain and held it up. Brushed steel, sleek, quietly stunning. Mom frowned. "What's that?" "Keys," I said, "to my new place. Closed on it last week." Silence fell like a dropped fork. Dad blinked. "You bought an apartment? With what money?" "From work. My company just licensed a cybersecurity framework I developed to a major international bank. My cut was decent." Mom's voice sharpened. "How decent?" I shrugged. 150,000, after taxes. Dead silence. Dylan stared. Mia gawked. Mom and Dad looked at me like I just told them I owned NASA. $150,000? Mom echoed. "What kind of job gives bonuses like that?" "I told you, I build enterprise security systems for Fortune 500 companies." Dad leaned forward. "How long have you been earning this kind of money?" "Since I graduated. The bonus changes, but the six-figure salary's been steady." And then came the shift, the sudden turn from mockery to opportunism. Mom lit up like a Christmas candle. "Sweetheart, why didn't you say something sooner? We're so proud of you." Dad nodded eagerly. "Dylan, did you hear that? Your sister works with Fortune 500 clients." Dylan's jaw clenched. Mia leaned in, whispering something tight-lipped into his ear. Mom moved closer. "Tell us about the apartment. How many bedrooms?" "2 bed, 2 bath, Fort Greene, close to my office." "We should visit," she said brightly. "Family should stay close." I almost laughed. "Family? After 8 years of silence?" "I've got a long drive," I said, standing up. Mom reached for my arm. "Stay, you just got here." Dad stepped in. "We haven't even talked about your career." As I packed, I heard them in the other room, hushed voices, frantic murmurs. When I came back downstairs, suitcase in hand, they were waiting. Too smiley, too sweet, a trap waiting to spring. Before you go, Dad said, stepping forward, we should talk about Dylan's business. As you know, he needs just a bit of seed money to get started. Dylan gave me that practiced grin. It's a great investment. You'd be in early, the ground floor. I looked at him, then at Mom, then Dad. How much? I asked, voice flat. 200 grand, Dylan said. With your income, that's nothing, right? I paused. The room held its breath. My parents, who once laughed when Uncle Mike offered me a dishwashing job. My brother, who spent a lifetime mocking me, and his wife, who chuckled along just yesterday morning. No, I said. The smiles vanished. What do you mean, no? Mom snapped. I mean I'm not giving you any money. But we're family, Dad said, as if the words still held meaning. I folded my arms. Where was family when I was told to find my own place the day after graduation, or when you paid for Dylan's college but left me to figure it out alone? That was different, Mom hedged. We didn't have money back then. You had money for Dylan, I said. Dylan showed promise, she barked, then immediately backtracked. I mean, we thought work would be better for you. I grabbed my bag. I need to go. You selfish brat, Dylan exploded. After everything this family did for you. What did you do? I asked. Raise me? Feed me? That's parenting, not charity. And you made sure I knew I wasn't wanted. I walked to the door as they followed, still protesting. You'll regret this, Mom shouted. I won't, I said, and meant it. By the time I hit the highway, my phone lit up, calls, texts, guilt trips. I blocked them all at a rest stop. Back in Brooklyn, I poured a glass of wine and watched the city glow from my balcony. Sarah texted, heard what happened, sorry about them. Don't be, I replied. This was the best gift they ever gave me. Freedom. She sent back a laughing emoji. Your mom's telling everyone you're ungrateful. Let her, I wrote back. That night, I slept better than I had in years. The next morning, I woke to a flood of messages, not from my parents or Dylan, but from aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't heard from in years. Your mother told us what happened. How could you abandon your family? Dylan is trying to build something. You should support him. We always knew you were selfish. One by one, I blocked them. Every name, every guilt trip, gone. Except Sarah. She called that afternoon. Jesus, Leah, she sighed. The whole family's imploding. Your mom told everyone you're rich and won't help Dylan. Good for her, I said dryly. She's telling people you've forgotten where you came from. Of course she is. God forbid they admit the daughter they ignored actually did something with her life. Sarah's voice softened. I'm proud of you, for what it's worth. It's worth a lot, I told her. You're the only one I care to keep in touch with. Are you really okay cutting everyone else off? Sarah, I said gently. I cut them off 8 years ago. This just made it official. That evening, I met my friends at our usual spot in Fort Greene, a cozy wine bar with worn leather booths and fairy lights over the bar. I told them everything. Good riddance, Lisa said. They sound toxic as hell. Do you think you'll miss them? Another friend asked. I thought about it. No, I think I've been mourning the family I never had. This just closed the book. I raised my glass. To chosen family. To chosen family, they echoed, smiling. As we toasted, my phone buzzed, an unknown number. I switched it to silent. 6 months later, summer wrapped the city in sunlight. I sat on my balcony, coffee in hand, watching the morning unfold below. It felt like emerging from a fog I hadn't realized I'd been living in. Sarah still called weekly, not because I asked, but because she cared. Jake's daughter was born last month, she told me. Madison. That's nice, I said, and meant it. I hoped that little girl would be loved better than I was. According to Sarah, Dylan and Mia were still living with my parents. The big startup? Still just talk. Even the relatives were tired of hearing about it. Apparently, my parents had turned my betrayal into their favorite sob story. At every family gathering, they painted me as the ungrateful daughter who vanished despite all their sacrifices. Meanwhile, my life had taken a turn I wouldn't trade for anything. 3 months after that disastrous Christmas, I met Ethan at a coffee shop near my office, a freelance designer with a gentle smile and deep respect for boundaries. He understood the tech world, and more importantly, What it meant to walk away from a toxic family. He had done it, too. Work was thriving. I'd been promoted to lead systems architect for a major AI security integration. The pay raise was great, but what thrilled me more was the freedom to build something groundbreaking. My team respected me. My ideas mattered. I was finally living the life I used to dream about from a lumpy couch in my parents' basement. About a month ago, Dylan somehow got hold of a new number and called. "Hey, Leah," he said awkwardly, "chipper. Thought we could catch up." "What do you want?" I asked. "No small talk. Madison should meet her aunt. Things are tight right now. Mom and Dad's house needs work. You don't even know how much." "Doesn't matter," I said. He exploded. I hung up, blocked the number. As I sat there in my own apartment, sipping coffee beside Ethan, I felt nothing but peace. Everything they said I'd never have. Love, stability, success. I built it on my own terms. Sarah later mentioned they were turning my old bedroom into a nursery. It didn't sting. That room never felt like mine. This one does. They still tried reaching me, through distant cousins, family friends. My favorite was Aunt Nora's voicemail, "Family is forever, Leah." But I'd already walked away. And I wasn't turning back. Ethan and I are planning a trip to Japan next month. We've been learning the language, mapping temples, bookmarking noodle shops. Sarah messaged me, "Mom saw your post. She says it's typical, you'd rather vacation than help family." "Good," I said. "Maybe she'll finally get it." Last week, I was promoted to head of engineering, top 1% salary. My boss said, "You earned this." We celebrated with friends. Lisa joked, "Your mom probably sensed your bank balance went up that night." Ethan brought champagne to the balcony. "Let's buy a house," I said. "With space, a yard, maybe a dog." My phone buzzed. Sarah again. "Mom says you must be a drug dealer." I laughed. Let them spin their stories. I am living mine. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment, tell me what you walked away from, what peace you built. Your support reminds me I'm not alone. And maybe you need that reminder too. My advice? Don't wait for permission to choose yourself. Build a life that reflects your worth, not theirs. And if you relate, hit subscribe.